Today we're talking about Pro Mist filters. There's a lot of different ones out there. I want to talk about my favorite one, when I like to use them, when I don't like to use them, and how you can replicate the diffusion effect in post.
Waking up, I can feel the tired eyes. I can never say enough about the time it flies by. It flies by. It flies by. It flies by.
Okay, so there's a lot of information widely available about Pro Mist filters. You guys probably have some different ones, whether it is Moment or Prism Lens FX or Tiffin, or it's a black satin filter. There are tons of different types of diffusion filters. I just want to talk about my experience using them, when I like to use them, when I don't like to use them, how I've kind of come back to them after straying away a little bit. So I originally got a Tiffin 1/4 black Pro Mist filter, and when I first got it, I wanted to use it all the time. I loved the effect it gave, and I just felt like, oh, this is like the cinematic thing to do. But as I used it more and more and more, I started to look at the back of my camera and then just take it off and be like, wow, that was just kind of obscuring more detail in my scene. So I went about a year of not really using Pro Mist filters at all. I kind of liked the super sharp, clean images without that blooming diffusion. So kind of what brought me back in was shooting film and just the texture and look and feel and halations that film can offer. And that's kind of the trendy thing to do nowadays, doing different film simulations and getting that film look in your videos. So I was exploring different types of diffusion filters, and what I landed on was my favorite one, the nostalgia filter from Prism Lens FX. This filter is amazing. Basically what it is it's their dream filter with a warming filter also baked into it. So what that means is you are going to get a warmer image at the same Kelvin measure on your white balance, and I really like the look that it gives you. Unfortunately, I only got to shoot with it a couple times before it fell off my camera and I lost it. And unfortunately, I didn't want to wait another month on pre-order for another one, so I just ordered a Prism Lens FX Dream filter, and I've been using that a lot. In fact, I'm shooting on it right now. All of this to say, I just really like these Prism Lens FX filters. They're really affordable. This video is not sponsored by them. I just happen to really enjoy the product, and I think they offer professional tools for a really reasonable price. I spent a lot more on these black Pro Mist filters when I was buying them from Tiffin, getting the 4x5 filters and even the 77mm circular one. So anyways, Dream filter, nostalgia filter, great stuff. And I think to really distill when I like to use this filter versus when I don't like to use it, I like to use it when I have a lot of control over the composition and over the lighting. Because what I find is when I'm shooting run and gun, I run into certain situations where the filter doesn't really add anything, it just obscures detail. For example, if you're just in a room with overhead lights and you're just filming somebody in that room, it may just kind of make the image look more muddy. A scene like that already may look kind of muddy if you have mixed lighting or just kind of ugly stuff going on, and the diffusion filter is just going to kind of pile on top of that. At the same time, when you have the control to utilize window light or certain kinds of natural light, the filter will look amazing and it'll bloom the highlights, and it gives you a lot of versatility to do different things with that footage. So that being said, typically I don't use these filters on a wedding day. However, the last wedding we shot, I used it a lot more, including during the wedding ceremony, and I was really happy with the results. I also had, again, a measure of control during that ceremony. I was bringing lighting to the table because it was kind of a funky space to shoot in with the mixed lighting and being backlit by a window. But I really enjoyed the look of it, and I think it added something to the look of that specific wedding film. Now, let's say you've already shot the footage for your particular project and you want to add some of that texture, some of that volume to your footage, and maybe make it look a little bit more filmic. So let me show you how you can recreate that effect in post for free, no filters needed. Okay, so I have an example to show you that perfectly illustrates when I would want to do this artificially rather than use filtration at the shoot. So we did this promo video for our friends with the band Meech Pango, and I brought the A1. I wanted to test out some 8K. I knew the lighting was going to be really tricky because if you've shot concerts, you know at some of these smaller event venues, the lighting can be a little bit dicey. You can deal with things like flicker, and the color can just come off really icky on skin tones. So anyways, for all those reasons, I didn't really want to use a diffusion filter in the moment. I'd rather just capture something as clean and as crisp as I possibly could, and then if I wanted to add that effect after the fact, then I have that option. So let's dive into it. I've got 2 clips here, and here is the finished product. As you can see, I used that film look that's very trendy right now. I added the Super 8 borders to it, the little perforation, we've got texture, we've got grain, but then we also have this layer of volume that we have added. So we're gonna start from the very beginning. We're gonna take all this away. So let's deconstruct both of these clips. Let's start from scratch and build up to what we had. So here is this clip. It actually looks very, very clean. Obviously there's some focus and motion blur going on, but it's an 8K clip, so it is very clean. And we want to make it look more like film. So film is not going to be that sharp. We're going to need to add some texture, but we're also going to need to obscure some detail. And here is our second clip. We're going to start by holding Alt, and we are going to duplicate the clip. So now we got 2 of them, right? So we are going to apply a Gaussian blur to the top clip, and this is where you're going to have to tinker with things, basically just decide how much blur do you want to add, how much do you want to obscure that detail, do you want it to be a subtle effect, do you want it to be a really intense effect. So I'm going to start with like 55, and I'm also going to check this repeat edge pixels thing right here just so there's no black in the side of the screen. So now you'll notice that we have we've definitely obscured the detail, but maybe a little bit too much so. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to change that blend mode to screen. And so now you can see what we've done. We've added this layer of blooming in the highlights that kind of give it this dreamy type of effect. But what we've also done, if you want to turn this layer on and off, we've definitely increased the exposure of the overall image quite a bit. So typically what I'll do is I'll put an adjustment layer over this, and I will just bring it down a little bit. Just bring down. Okay, so now we're going to add a couple of extra little textural things to give it that Super 8 kind of film look. We're going to add the 4x3 dirty letterbox here. And so if we're looking at this now, I mean, you get the effect of it being a square, but it still looks just way too sharp. So I've got several grain and texture effects that I've added to it. These are from Ezra Cohen. If you're curious, if you want to check them out yourself, there's a lot of different places that you can get grain presets. So I'm not sponsored by anybody to tell you which ones to buy, but that's where I get my stuff. And so there you have it. This is the final look. So we've got that texture, we've got that noise, and then let's do it again with this clip right here. But let's go a little bit harder with the Gaussian blur and just see what that does, just so you can kind of get a range of what that effect will do. So we're going to add that in. Let's go all the way to 100 and just see what that's looking like. And obviously we'll also repeat edge pixels because you can see those edges looking a little bit funky. And then we will change this blend mode to screen. And there you have it. So that is a very strong kind of halation blooming effect. So then let's just hold Alt and let's drag those same texture elements to this clip and see what it's looking like. So there you have it, guys. I've been enjoying playing around with the nostalgia filter until I lost it and the dream filter. But if you really like this effect, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy a filter at all. You can recreate it in your editing software. So that's it for me, guys. Until next time, thanks for watching.
Waking up.